Before the first light touches the frozen ground, Tomoe Gozen kneels alone. The incense smoke curls upward through the bitter air of Omi province, rising past lacquered armor, past the cold steel of a naginata blade still dark with the memory of old campaigns. She is perhaps 30 years old, perhaps less. No chronicle agrees. What the chronicles do agree upon is this: she is extraordinary. In the mountains of her childhood Echigo, snow fell in curtains so thick the world disappeared. She and the boy Yoshinaka made promises there, small sacred words pressed into a white hillside, sealed by the cold and by something fiercer than cold. That hillside is 20 years and 1,000 deaths away now. This morning, January of 1184, the snow has come again to find her, and with it, something that cannot be outrun. The morning air bites with the cold clarity of a blade just drawn. Yoshinaka stands at the edge of the frost-hardened encampment, his armor lacquered the deep red of old blood, his breath rising in pale columns against the gray Omi sky. He speaks quietly, devastatingly, and Tomoe receives his words the way stone receives a chisel, without flinching, but forever changed. He is telling her to run. He is telling her that her presence beside him in death would diminish him, that the annals would mock a warrior lord who fell alongside a woman. She holds his gaze. In her eyes, something ancient and furious turns like a wheel. She has ridden with him since childhood, bled for him, killed for him, and now he offers her survival as though it were mercy. She accepts his order, but acceptance is not surrender, and Tomoe Gozen is not yet finished with this day. She crosses at the shallows where the current runs thin over gray stone, her horse's hooves striking sparks of cold water into the morning mist. The river swallows sound. Behind her, the camp burns, orange light bleeding through the cedar and cryptomeria like a wound in the forest. She reaches the far bank. Mud. Silence. The smell of smoke carried on a wind that knows no allegiance. Tomoe does not dismount. She sits, gauntleted hands loose upon the reins, lacquered armor beaded with river mist, staring back at the treeline she has just abandoned. Every teaching, every vow hammered into her since girlhood in the snows of Echigo, pulls against the order she has been given. Some loyalties, it seems, run deeper than command. She turns her horse. What waits on the other side of that burning tree line will define her for 1,000 years. They come from the pines without warning. 6 mounted scouts bearing the white Minamoto crest, swords already drawn, breath rising in pale clouds above the frozen road. Tomoe does not hesitate. She wheels her horse with the precision of a woman who is trained in the saddle since she could walk, and the battle becomes something terrifying to witness. Her naginata finds the first man before he raises his weapon. The second falls to a cut so clean it seems almost merciful. The remaining 4 circle her like wolves, and still she does not yield. Her lacquered armor catching the pale winter light, her dark hair loose and wild beneath her helmet. One by one they break against her. The road behind her is still. Ahead, beyond the smoke rising over Awazu, Yoshinaka waits, and time is running out. Atop the ridge, the wind cuts like drawn steel. Below, Lake Biwa stretches silver and vast beneath a sky-bruised purple with winter cold, its frozen shores whispering with the dead. Tomoe stands motionless, her lacquered armor catching the last pale light, her naginata planted in snow as red-stained as the roads she has ridden since dawn. She has carried his orders in her chest like a wound. Flee. Live. Be forgotten gently. But something older than obedience moves through her now. A reckoning as ancient as the mountains of Echigo that shaped her. History is written by those who remain. She breathes out, a plume of vapor dissolving into cold air, and with it, every version of herself that might have chosen otherwise. The warrior turns. She descends toward the battle, and toward eternity. The field at Awazu is already dying when she returns. Smoke coils above the frozen marshland like funeral silk. The Minamoto banners, white as the snow beneath them, are falling one by one into the mud. Around her, the screaming of horses mingles with the iron clang of desperate men. Tomoe rides headlong through the collapsing lines, her naginata cutting arcs through the frozen air, each stroke deliberate, each breath a white cloud dissolving into chaos. She can see him. Yoshinaka. Her lord, her commander, the boy she once raced through mountain snow. Surrounded now, his horse struggling in the marsh's treacherous grip, his small retinue already diminished to almost nothing. She has disobeyed his final order. She has come back. And in the space between that choice and its consequence, legend quietly begins to take shape. Then comes the moment that will outlast the dynasty itself. Onda no Moroshige, veteran of 100 campaigns, terror of the eastern roads, wheels his mount toward her as though she were prey. He does not understand his mistake until her gauntleted hand closes around his throat like iron around a lantern. The impact splits the frozen air. She tears him from his saddle with the fury of something older than war, older than the clans, older than the names men give to courage. One clean arc of her blade. Steam rises from the severed neck into the bitter February cold. She binds his head to her saddle, proof, testimony, sacrament, and turns her horse back through the carnage toward Yoshinaka's banner. But the banner, she will soon discover, is no longer where it stood. She finds him at the water's edge, where the ice has turned the color of rust. Yoshinaka, conqueror of the capital, the wild lord of Kiso, is diminished now, his lacquered armor split, his breath coming in shallow, ragged pulls. Tomoe kneels before him in the bloodied snow, her trophy laid upon the frozen ground between them. He lifts his gaze to her one final time. The command needs no words. She has read his face since childhood, across mountain winters and burning summers, through every campaign that shaped her into something history has no proper name for. And so, for the first time, she does not stand and fight. She rises, turns, and rides. Behind her, the lake holds its silence. Ahead, a world that does not yet know what kind of woman is coming toward it. She does not look back. That is the most devastating thing. Tomoe Gozen rides north into the white erasure of falling snow, her lacquered armor streaked with blood that is not entirely her own, the silk cords at her wrists fraying in the bitter wind off Lake Biwa. Behind her, the sounds of Awazu, the iron percussion of blades, the broken cries of men, grow smaller, swallowed by the cold. Her horse's breath blooms in pale clouds against the gray morning air. She carries no trophy, no proof of glory, only the weight of a living body that her commander ordered her to keep alive. In the spaces between hoofbeats, something shifts irrevocably inside her. A door closing on the only world she has ever known. But the road ahead does not end here. It only becomes harder to name. Somewhere in a candlelit scriptorium, a brush moves across paper, and history makes its choice. The chronicler of the Heike Monogatari does not relegate her to the margins. He places her at the center. Armored, magnificent, her black hair unbound against the winter sky, her blade already drawn. Ink dries on mulberry paper, and Tomoe Gozen becomes permanent. Not a grief, not an absence. A warrior of incomparable skill, described with the reverence reserved for the sublime and the terrible. Centuries will not soften her. Generations of readers will feel the cold of Awazu's frozen shore, will hear the thunder of her horse across the ice. She chose survival, and survival, it turns out, was its own form of defiance. But who was the woman behind the legend, and what did she carry with her into that long silence?